Hello, BookTube. I have a wee bit of mail for you, and it ends with a treat. But the treat isn't a box. The treat is something better than a box. But first, we've got a measly 2 envelopes, and they're tiny. The first one is this tiny little thing from Grey Wolf Press. Let's see what they have to say for this. Oh, wonderful. Okay, I actually requested this because it got my spider sense tingling. And I love it when that happens. And despite the disparaging comments that I make on this channel all the time about the made-up stories, my spidey sense when it comes to contemporary fiction is pretty strong. there are a few calls I've made that I stand by, and when I look at forthcoming books from months down the pike, and my spidey sense goes off on one of them and I end up reading it, a lot of times it turns out to be verified. I don't know if that'll happen in this case, but I like the sound of it. So it's Waiting for Tomorrow by Natasha Apana. A pretty little thing, tiny, slim thing. Unfortunately, the logistics of the book reviewing world being what they are, a slim thing means it's more likely to get considered for review. But anyway, so let me read you a bit about it. This is a debut novel, I believe. The author was born in Mauritius. I have been to Mauritius. And she's the author of The Last Brother, which has been translated into 16 different languages. She works as a journalist and translator in France. Okay, so this isn't the debut novel? I could have sworn it was. But it's not. This Last Brother thing is all over the book. So she definitely wrote The Last Brother, whatever that is. I don't remember that. Anyway, this one is about Anita and Adam, who met 20 years ago in Paris, a city where they both fell out of place. He is a recent arrival from the provinces. She is an immigrant from the island of Mauritius. They quickly fell in love, married, and moved to a village in southwestern France with their young daughter, Laura. To make ends meet, they leave behind artistic pursuits for more practical employment. But over time, the monotony of daily life begins to erode the bonds of their marriage. I swear, humans. The arrival of Adele, an undocumented immigrant from Mauritius whom they hire to care for Laura, sparks inspiration for both Adam and Anita, as well as a renewed energy in their relationship. But this harmony will prove to be short-lived, brought down by their separate transgressions of Adele's privacy and a subsequently tragic turn of events. So this comes out in April. It's a scant 125 pages. From that plot description, you'd be hard-pressed to figure out what my spidey sense was thinking. But nevertheless, it still holds true. I'd be willing to bet that it will end up being really good, and that it will get reviewed widely. That's thing number 1, and now thing number 2. It's a bigger envelope, but it's still tiny. It's still a tiny thing. I had a couple of. I hesitate to mention this because it will draw down the wrath of Elisa from Paper Bits. But I had a couple of large mail hauls recently that there was no way that I could open them on camera because it was so loud here. Just an unearthly amount of noise from directly across the street. Directly across the street. If I go out my front door, walk down my front steps, and reach out my hand, I will touch a lorry, a backhoe, a tractor, a jackhammer, a jackhammer wielder. And no one can tell me how long it's going to go on. So I couldn't do it. I opened them without joy. But anyway. Oh, okay. All right. This is another novel. And this is another thing that I requested. This is by Uzodinma Iweala, and it is Speak No Evil. This is the author of Beasts of No Nation. And this is the new book that comes out in March. I believe that I was the only critic, the only professional critic, and one of the only critics that I've read anywhere who didn't like Beasts of No Nation. Thought it was formless and utterly unmoving piece of self-indulgence. And a little disturbingly, I got the distinct impression that it was also a hothouse flower. I got the distinct impression that I was not the first reader to encounter that text in its journey from its owner's laptop to the bestseller list, who thought, there isn't much meat on this, Bones. And I bet I wasn't the first reader to say, you know, in a perfect world, this would have been sent back to the author to work a little harder on. And the reason that's disturbing, of course, that's natural. Books are especially the made-up stories, for God's sake. He let go of her breath he didn't know he was holding. She padded to the kitchen. Oh, for God's sake. But that's common. But the disturbing part was that I got the distinct impression that the hothouse flower part came from the fact that no one along the path of Genesis of the book wanted to risk handing it back to the author and saying, this isn't good enough. Try again. This nakedly autobiographical work about your horrible life isn't good enough. You have to make it a better novel. I worry about what's the phrase? Identity politics. I worry about identity politics creeping into fiction. Oh, now you. Oh, goodness gracious. The little Fraulein wants to walk on the keyboard. That's not going to work, is it? Oh, what's the matter? We went on 2 very long walks today, and it's actually tired her. That plus the fact that with every week that passes, she's less of a demon-infested puppy. With every week that passes, she is growing into adulthood. And in adulthood, she will not need to bounce off the walls like a rubber ball all the time. She won't need to, and she won't want to. So it's possible that the 2 long walks we took today tired her out just a bit. And, you know, they were amazing for me in the whole range of emotions. They were. It was a beautiful day. I'm trying not to think about it. It was a beautiful day. It was 65 degrees Fahrenheit here in Boston on the penultimate day of November. That is unthinkable. That is the end of the world. That signals the end of the world as everyone in living memory has ever known it. And there's no melodrama about that. It was 65 degrees in Boston on the second last day of November. And the pattern shows absolutely no sign of breaking. The temperature is scarcely going to go into the 40s as far out as models can predict. So, but I'm trying not to think about the apocalyptic nature of it. Instead, I just concentrate on the now. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. High blue sky, no breezes, just everything. It was a gentle late spring day. So I took advantage of that to take Frida on some long walks and experienced the full range of emotion, which is kind of strange. As many times as I've done it, it's kind of strange. We went to the Arnold Arboretum. I filmed some videos. I filmed a video there just recently. It's a gorgeous, gigantic arboretum, 100 years old. That's minutes walk from my front door. Amazing to have it there, and I love walking in it in all weathers. And yet, when this was the first time that Frida was actually able to get there under her own steam, and I was determined that was going to be the way she got there the first time. I wasn't going to carry her there. With her overwhelmed and nervous the whole time. Today, we walked under her own power, and the minute we got there and started walking around those wooded paths where I went everywhere, I know every inch of the Arboretum, the minute we got there and started doing that, I was flooded with memories of dogs who are gone, who walked those paths with me. And so it was a simultaneous blast of joy, because it's, of course, a beautiful thing to be walking on a beautiful day in a beautiful setting with a little puppy. And also sadness, intense sadness, because the dogs that walk those paths with me, the simplest way to put it is that I wish they were still here. I don't like that they're not still here. But anyway, what do we get back to the book here? So our author splits his time between New York City and Lagos, and this book, on the surface, Neeru leads a charmed life. Raised by 2 attentive parents in Washington, D.C., he's a top student and a track star at his prestigious private high school. Bound for Harvard in the fall, his prospects are bright. Keep in mind, his prospects are not bound for Harvard in the fall. He is. It's just dangler. That's all. It's a common thing. Just in your own writing, keep an eye out for it, because it's annoying. But Neeru has a painful secret. He is queer, an abominable sin to his conservative Nigerian parents. No one knows except Meredith, his best friend, the daughter of a prominent Washington insiders, and the one person who seems not to judge him. When his father accidentally discovers Neru is gay, the fallout is brutal and swift. Coping with troubles of her own, however, Meredith finds that she has little left emotionally to offer him. Okay, the antecedent of that him is Neru's father. And I don't think Meredith wants to offer him any consolation, but that's all right. We'll forge on. As the two friends struggle to reconcile with their desires against the expectations and insinuations that seek to define them, they find themselves speeding toward a future more violent and senseless than they can imagine. Neither will escape unscathed. Okay. All right, that's tricky. There are about 6 different ways that plot could go wrong. The most condescending to me, just having read this cover copy, the book, of course, as we always say here on this channel, the book, of course, could contain wonders. Beasts of No Nation was conspicuously void of wonders, but you never know. It's the guiding rule by which I approach the contemporary fiction is you never know. Even Philip Roth, if he hadn't delighted me into doing an Irish jig in my kitchen by retiring, might have pleased me with a new book. You never know. But the most condescending trouble that rises on the horizon of that plot description is that Neru's parents, who raised him in Washington, D.C., would retain, you know, the village prejudices. That they wouldn't be the first to embrace him coming out as gay. Not quite sure why the cover copy says queer instead of gay, but that's all right. I'm not going to quibble over stuff like that. And another problem that rises up from this plot description is one of the worst cop-outs in contemporary gay fiction, especially contemporary gay YA fiction, which, despite the fact this is not labeled that way, it clearly is. And that's what I like to call redemption by lover, where a gay character's life is shattered and broken, and they don't fix it. Finding someone, a sex partner, fixes it. That drives me nuts. And the promulgation of that idea does so much harm. But anyway, look at all that weight I'm laying on this little thing when I don't even know if it's in there. I will report back on Speak No Evil, because you never know. It's a sophomore novel. Those are legendarily weak. But after Beasts of No Nation, I'm just assuming that this author has nowhere to go but up. So maybe his sophomore novel will be good, and maybe this will be a case, I've seen it before, where his books just get better and better. That would be so exciting. But anyway, those are the 2 books, and they were skinny. And the third thing is thicker than either one of them, but it's not a book. It's another catalog. This time, the great University of Chicago Press. This is their Spring Books catalog with a cover designed to please. The University of Chicago Press, of course, is old and venerable, and they are noteworthy in their catalog. The catalog is huge, and they're noteworthy because they shelter a great many other presses under their umbrella. Small presses, satellite presses, specialty presses. So this won't be just the University of Chicago's books. It will be a whole bunch of other things. And I thought we'd do a tour together. But I'm going to try to make the tour slightly less tedious than the last one. Although, bless you, almost nobody complained about me just abusing your hospitality this way. The way that I'm justifying it. This is pure self-indulgence, so there isn't any justification, but nevertheless, the way that I'm justifying it is that, pragmatically speaking, maybe a lot of you won't see this. Maybe a lot of you wouldn't think to go to the University of Chicago's website and download the PDF. Or maybe, a little bit more egregious here, even if you did that, you might want a walkthrough with another reader. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. So the very first book on page 1 of the general interest part of the catalog, let's see. It's by Scott Samuelson. It's 272 pages long. And it is 7 Ways of Looking at Pointless Suffering. A theology or philosophy book. The subtitle of which is What Philosophy Can Tell Us About the Hardest Mystery of All. And that's fascinating. Well, of course, read it, but it is not the hardest mystery of all. The only reason that it's cast presupposed as a mystery at all is because of another presupposition, the presupposition that suffering should have meaning, which is religion. That's religion that does that, where the random sufferings of life are sharpened and used as tools to control the faithful and to threaten them. So the subtitle here says, what philosophy can tell us about the hardest mystery of all? It's the easiest mystery of all. It's not a mystery at all. The only reason it's a mystery is if you don't think the world is random. If you think that chance must be ascribable, then it's a mystery. If you don't think that, then it's not a mystery. Of course, bad and good things will happen all the time to everybody. The rain, it raineth every day. But, anyway, oh my God, a rant right out of the catalog gate. We'll try and do better. We'll go faster. So Philip Hoare, who did a great book on the whale, on whales, his new book is Rising Tide, Falling Star, In Search of the Soul of the Sea. 400 pages of what might be maundering pedophagy. We shall see. Oh, but the next one is Canine Confidential. Why Dogs Do What They Do by Mark Beckhoff, who is a professor emeritus of ecology and evolutionary biology at the University of Colorado. Nevertheless, despite his, I'm sure, impressive credentials, there was only one two-legged creature anywhere in the world who could actually write a book that would be able to cash the check of Why Dogs Do What They Do. And you're looking at him. And I haven't written that book. But anyway, we can certainly entertain his random guesses. I have read every one of the type of book that is subtitled Why Dogs Do What They Do, and invariably, in every single case, every one of those books, I haven't gone more than 30 pages without encountering some piece of anthropomorphizing nonsense. It's because the writers are, no fault of theirs, all human. And they immediately start importing that. It's an age-old prejudice, right? I mean, we owe it to René Descartes, who was incredibly influential in describing animals as wind-up toys, without any feelings, without any emotions, without any memory, without any intelligence. Beasts abstract not. Oh God! Another rant. We'll never get through this. All right. We're gonna blast on through here. A guide to seeds. I ask you. Artisanal fisheries. Extreme conservation. Oh, here's the cover. Secrets of the Snout, a book I've already read. That is, it's by Frank Rosel, and it's translated by Diane Oatley, and it's the phrase is anecdote heavy. Let's see here. Oh, it's a Caleb book. Look at that. Discoveries in the Garden. Oh my. By James Nardi. Oh my. Every square inch of soil is rich with energy and life, and nowhere is this more evident than in the garden. Wonderful. I don't know that Caleb makes videos anymore, so probably 200 of you don't even have any idea who I'm talking about. He was a booktuber, a very good booktuber. If he doesn't make videos and he's watching, he should get back to making videos. Get back in your chair and start talking about books again. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, and yet the really good ones stop doing it. Oh my God, that was a rant that wasn't even about the book. A baseball book. Look at that. Tinkers to Evans to Chance. Tinker to Evans to Chance was a Chicago Cubs thing. You're not most of you won't know American baseball, I'm sure, but if there are Cubs fans out there, they will know it instantly, and they'll know the story behind it. Now it's getting a book of its own. That's wonderful. Is the Cemetery Dead? A meditative essay whose power arises from Sloane's own involvement with scholarly, professional, and personal dimensions of American cemeteries. Frida and I were in a cemetery just today, a beautiful cemetery of the type that isn't made anymore. So maybe the book isn't hyperbole. Oh, 2 books on books. You all know how I love books on books. The first one is Behind the Book, 11 authors on their path to publication. And the next one is The Business of Being a Writer. Good Lord, Ben Sanders could benefit from both of these. See, when I go through catalogs now, I automatically start thinking of you. all of you. I automatically think, well, who would want these things? Who would be interested in this particular subject? And you know, the reason that I do that is because you all have reviews inside you that I would like to drag out of you. A lot of you don't think you do, or you think it's a big deal, or you're not sure. And I want to say, you have nothing to lose. It's a situation in which you have nothing to lose. If you, for instance, those of you who might not know what I'm talking about, I'm a literary editor in addition to being a book reviewer. I have a small but well-respected venue on which your work could run. Publishers take note of it. If you have a subject that really interests you and that you have a lot of thoughts about, you could try your hand at reviewing a book on that subject. If you try it and like the experience, well, then you've got a book and you've got a published review, and no harm, no foul. If you try it and you love the experience, you might want to review another book on that subject, and then all of a sudden you've got a bibliography of published work on that subject. There is no downside. Anyway, I'll make another video. I'll make a video about that specifically. New study of Michelangelo's sculpture. Very nice. 320 pages long. That's we have wandered into the special interest section of the catalog, so we'll try and put the spurs to this thing to so this doesn't go on forever. Oh, a new book on Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. And Legal Logic. A lot of you won't know who he is, but I'm a big fan. I know everything there is to know about him. I've read every word that ever came off his pen. And I'm right up for reading this thing. Oh, 200 pages long. Good Lord. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. and Legal Logic is the title of the book, and it's 200 pages long. He practiced law at the highest levels in the world for 70 years, and the book is 200 pages long. That's a little annoying. Let's see here. Well, I got to blast through here because we've got a long way to go here. We're gonna let's see here. A new study of Xenophon's book on Socrates. You don't see that every day. Oh my God! Speak of the devil. A biography of the young Descartes. Look at that. That is the face of pure evil. Did more to harm the cause of animal understanding, non-human animal understanding, than any other single individual in the history of the world. This is a study of him as a young man, and it's 288 pages long. That's all right. Well, I will read it. When you love biographies as much as I do, you of course end up reading biographies of people you hate. I have even occasionally read biographies of people I knew and hated. Okay. All right. I will mention this without commentary. This is the little autobiography that Samuel Stewart wrote about his life as a gay man. No further comment. All right. So let's keep going here. Oh, another book on the origin of the backbone of vertebrates, where the backbone comes from, and this very expensive piece of technology that is utterly fascinating. It's utterly fascinating to think about the spine, the skeleton of hard, heavy material. When you think about this, this is a water world, and it always has been. And in a water world, it's that a spine, a skeleton, is an enormous investment of resources for minimal gain. In a water world, a skeleton works against you. I think it's absolutely fascinating. That's a book I will jump on. But we've got to move on here. We're going to be here forever. And this oh my God, we're at 25 minutes. Oh, Sean, the book maniac's got to go to bed. That's all right. He'll just bail. So let's keep going here. Another book on Descartes. God help us. I'll read it, but oh my, this is full of stuff. See, one of the things that I really like about the University of Chicago Press is that it has a true believer who works there. My relationship with them goes back a long, long time, since long before the particular true believer I have in mind was even born. But with people like him there, him and his fellow publicists. I know that these books are going to get the champions they deserve, and that's wonderful. Oh, look at the sizes. All right, now we've moved into other parts of the book. Now we're in paperback, where I automatically go because I'm hoping for blurbs of my own. But it's not looking good, BookTube. So I know all of these things. Oh, goodness gracious. No. Oh, look at that. We're going all the way through the now in paperback section without a single blurb from me. That might not be exclusive. But, I mean, this is only the spring. The summer could have other books. I review a lot of University of Chicago books. So, new study of the dragon. New study of fairies. Very nice. A new book on Vikings. Laughing, I Shall Die. Lives and Deaths of the Great Vikings. Oh, at almost 400 pages. Very nice. Trees and Art. Wonderful. Hi there, baby. Now, if you walk on the keyboard, everything will be lost. You know you can't walk on the keyboard, little girl. You have to sit back. 2 more Steve books. One on owls. This is Desmond Morris, the author of Dog Watching and Cat Watching and The Naked Ape. And this is his book on owls that he wrote a long time ago. It looks like this is a new edition, so that's a thrill. And a big new book on Jupiter, which I have studied more than anything, than any other part of Earth's solar system, with the sole exception of one of the most fascinating parts of Earth's solar system that is one of the least contemplated because it's so familiar, and that's the moon. Earth's moon. We call it the moon. We give it this amazing name, even though the solar system is absolutely riddled with moons, because it's so strange. The only other world we've ever visited. And I love it so much. And so that's what I've studied the most. But after that comes Jupiter, this amazing stillborn star whose dimensions just stagger the imagination when you read about it. Oh! A new book on the moon. Oh, fantastic. It's only 184 pages long. Good Lord. A new study of Kierkegaard. Very nice. One of the only philosophers that Steve can stand. Oh, goodness. We're only a third of the way in. Oh, we're going to have to stop. We are. We're just going to have to wrap this up. Do you mind? Oh. New book about Newton. New book about Giordano Bruno, who was burned alive for offenses against the church. Oh, my. I know a couple of recipients for this as well. Treasures for the Tolkien fan. Oh, my. Very nice. Oh, and look at that. A new biography of Ada Lovelace. Oh, I'm getting some sort of warning here. Even the computer wants me to wrap this up. The Making of a Computer Scientist. But it's 128 pages long. That's okay. I did not know that. I kind of knew that book was coming out, but I thought that it would be much longer than that. 128 pages. There's no reason to read it as opposed to reading the Wikipedia entry. That's disappointing. Well, we're only halfway through, and this video is already hideously long. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. We'll just call that a taste of the forthcoming wares from the University of Chicago Press. It's not like we're not going to go through the books one by one when they arrive here in the mail anyway. But I just wanted to share some of my nerdish enthusiasm about this enormous catalog. And now that I'm going to wrap this up, I will bid you adieu for now, and then I will bury myself in this catalog. So sorry about the length. I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.